Welcome. Long time no see. Hope you're all doing well. Um, this welcome back to the first stage map, where we're about to do an adventures map. As you can kind of see in here is where we're working. So first off, I'm in my pajamas. It's about 8 a.m. Currently, so and I didn't plan to take a shower. So, but secondly, this is like the first video I have shot in the new apartment. Um, so which also, as a heads up, I'm moving again this year. Except this time we're moving across the country. We're going all the way down to the East Coast. So I'm actually going to be moving it again, which also means that in the near future you may actually see Chaston, Cook, Caleb, many of the players in the background of these videos for the future. So just as a heads up, as that kind of goes forward. Secondly, I want to take a second to thank you all for those who have been watching and subscribed to the channel. Those who aren't part of my friend group, really appreciate you. Those who are watching these videos that aren't subscribed, we really appreciate you guys just checking it out. Thank you so much. So without any further delay, I apologize. You will hear the highway because it's still Saturday. People are still out there. And I never got soundproof foaming. As you can kind of see, my apartment's kind of barren. I never actually bought anything besides a Switch and a big screen TV when I moved out here. So when we move down, hopefully to Florida, I'll be saving for a house, and the house will be when we actually finally start to really decorate everything. But yeah, something to kind of keep in mind. Um, Anyway, so let's get down on the first stage. So the first thing to mention with my first stage is the fact that during the first stage, um, the land masses, all of them are basically what I call, um, I guess, great Tarrasques or greater Tarrasques, kind of like how you have your great worms. These are creatures that are huge. So the world of Silencia, to give you a general size comparison, um, is about the same size, I would say, as the sun as far as like expansion. It's very deep. Most of the land masses are floating, and the difference between is that the Tarrasques, known as greater Tarrasques, are very large creatures who have massive limbs that can reach towards where there is a solid ground called the crust. But for reference, most of the oceans will go down about 1.5 times deeper than the Earth, up to 2 times in some places. And these Tarrasques basically keep growing. They small islands. They kind of pop out of the other Tarrasques once they get to their huge size. And the idea after that will be that basically, as they get to so big, little Tarrasques will start to spawn out of them, creating islands that will slowly grow. So the first age map is actually going to look horrendously different compared to the current map. Current map showing that those Tarrasques are all at that middle stage of growth. There's a couple of small ones, but in this case, this is the first stage where there's only going to be a total of 3 continents. And they're not going to look anything like it because, again, each landmass is a living being. This is a living creature. You're basically living on its back, kind of like a world turtle. Um, so, and the reason I'm doing this is for 2 reasons. One, as a DM, one of my biggest pitfalls is I'm a terrible artist. And two, it's a better way of explaining, I feel like, how the continents kind of change shape over time, and makes it so you don't have to keep a perfect shaping. As the Tarrasque eventually will die, other Tarrasques will, in a sense, kind of come to be, and the great Tarrasques that, will age and eventually either go into a deep sleep and eventually pass away, will eventually just sink to the bottom, because their bodies are so heavy that their limbs will no longer keep them up. So that's kind of how my world works. It's a little weird. Now, these creatures are immune to almost all damage. They are almost immortal. Um, they have a very long lifespan, and it is really difficult to kill one. In fact, no one has managed to kill a continental Tarrasque or a great Tarrasque. So let's start with this. Let's drop our brush down a little bit. So we're gonna have about 3 Tarrasques, and why you're asking 3? Because there's 2 portions of the continent that still have the Tarrasques alive. However, they're going to be a bit larger. So we're gonna come in here later with a finer brush, of course, but right now I just want to kind of get the general shape going. Because we're gonna have a lot larger of an Antarctic, or a North Pole, I guess, and a lot larger of a South Pole. These are the oldest known Tarrasques on my world. These creatures have not died. And you may remember these creatures from the map I'm using as a representation here. This is the original map of the basically written age on. This is around the same general area. I will be creating the maps. I actually might start doing this over the next coming weeks on my when I'm off. Is I might start doing the map for each age, so that way people get a better depiction of it. Apologies. It's still getting over kind of a cold of some sort. But so this is our general map that we're working with. So Celsica is a very old Tarrasque, and so is Selmica. As you can kind of see, they're starting to slowly dip into the ocean. They are starting to their bodies are getting so old in the first age that they are actually starting to die. These are the oldest known creatures on the planet as far as living beings. Technically, the only thing that outlives that is lived longer than them are the gods themselves of the originals, like the primordials. Theeth, Kedlis, and Tenza would be like the only creatures older than probably these two Tarrasques, Selmica and Celsica. So we'll keep them kind of up there. Now we need to do the central Tarrasque. So the big thing here is now I'm going to create a rough shape because it looks like a sandwich, and I know that's what you're thinking. There was a lot more land back then, and I'm going to kind of give some interesting topography here. We're going to kind of do a rough shape. Now this continent is massive, as this is the same size map. Now this is also only half the planet. I'm not doing the full planet because I'd have to do 4 maps to break it into 4 quadrants. I might actually do that today because there would be that might be a good way to explain it. But we're kind of going with our more rougher look. So let's see, I'm just looking through here to see if there's anything in here that I want to use. So let's do some roughness in here. I always like to come through on these continents. And you can kind of see like why I'm using this rough map. Now we're not zoomed in real far because this is a very large map, but this gives it kind of a more, I guess, rough look, which I like. And we're gonna get a couple of the little islands in here. I actually might do all 4 maps today because that would make a bit of sense on that. And I'm gonna kind of rough it a little bit more down here. As you can kind of see, it leaves some lakes, which is kind of what we want. And then instead, I'm also gonna come up here. And we're going to shrink the size of the brush by about 20. And we're going to give this a little bit of a rougher edge because this is pretty far out there. So this is going to be our general map we're going to start with, is what I'm going to call it. We'll put some names down just so that way it's easier to recall everything. There we go. It kind of gives a rougher look to it. So this is our first quadrant. This is going to be the same area of landmass that the main map you just saw a minute ago. This is where all this will develop from eventually. We are going to put a couple little islands out here, as these would be some baby Tarrasques that have popped off at this point that are starting to grow. Not a lot, but just enough. And then as far as it goes, let's go ahead and put some labels down. I actually don't have any names yet for this, but I am actually going to go into here. We're going to save this, and we're going to call this First Age Main Continents 1 of 4. Or Main Continent, and then 104. Alright. Oh, that's right. We can't do, Ooh, give me a minute. There we go. Alright, perfect. Now we gotta save. So yeah, we can kind of come up with the names as we go. I'm not getting any ideas yet today. It's just to get the map done. So let's get the lakes and waterways done. So we're gonna now go ahead and save this as... there used to be a way to do it. Yes, save as. We're gonna use the same naming convention as the other one, except at the end we're gonna add and now we have a different map. All right, so let's start with our rivers. We're gonna kind of start to. Ooh, I don't like. Give me a minute. There we go. Okay. Let's go with a larger width and turn off the fade in. I'm gonna go up to 8. The roughness is fine. We want to kind of bring these around. There we go. And then we're going to do another one. This continent is definitely going to get split a lot. With small rivers kind of popping everywhere. Oops. There we go. Many people are going to be a lot like that. There we go. So this will be our first big continent. This is going to house, well, actually, if we go in here and we duplicate this tab real quick, we can go back into campaigns, go into D&D, we'll go into our history through the ages, and we're going to pull up our timeline, because we've got to basically note what races we're going to be putting in here. So if we go into race creation, here and roughly here are what we're going to work on. So we've got, we're going to start basically with those two, and then kind of go from there. So we got our first continent. This is going to be majorly dragon territory, draconic territory, and as you can kind of see how large this is, this kind of gives you an idea of how the settlements will be kind of working. So let's put some lakes in here. We're going to put one right around there, one there. And this will kind of give you an idea of the settlement area. We're going to put some random ones that are going to be a little bit smaller up down here. And then I need to put some more rivers in. There we go. There we go. And then there we go. All right. Now we've got that. We've got fresh water. So we will note that most of the world is fresh water, as I've talked about. However, that's not the case in the first age. That is something to kind of note going through here, is that this is going to be a lot more of our first age stuff. Also, one of the things we're going to immediately do is we're going to come in here. Ooh, what? Why? Oh, because of it. Okay. Really? All right. Well, whatever. Let's go back to water. So we have our freshwater brush that's going to kind of fill in this a little bit more. We're going to give it a lot more roughness to it, though, as I hate when I get like clean lines here. Because nothing on a map is ever that clean. Let's drop the brush way down. And it's attention to detail like this where you're sitting here kind of working on making these a little rougher. That really adds to the map in my opinion. Which I always like to do because I don't like the smooth lines. Because I've never known a river to cut smoothly. So I always try to give it a little bit of a rougher path. Also, giving these little like things of water kind of shooting off of it gives it a little bit more interesting texture. Because similar to like how historically we have our what do you call it? We have like floodplains and such that got blocked off. Water doesn't really travel the same exact path every time. It goes with the path of least resistance, and in many situations, now over time, that's going to develop anyways because of the fact that the water is going to create its own path of least resistance. However, in the very beginning, a lot of them you'll see like floodplains kind of created from. So we'll just kind of keep coming in here, kind of continue to expand out the lines a little bit, giving it more of a chunky and janky looking feeling. I'm not too bothered by the water, but we're going to kind of increase our brush size slightly just to get a bit more of that roughness in there. And there we go. Looks a little bit nicer and cleaner. I do think the roughness adds just a lot to it, which I want to kind of keep showing that. Apologies, my little phone here finally finished charging. So that'll be for in between sessions. So today, well, you won't see all the recordings today. Over the next couple weeks, you're going to see me working on each of these maps. That's kind of the idea and the plan for them. I'm going to try and knock out most of them today if possible. But we'll kind of see how things kind of go from here. Yeah. So this will be kind of our little intro to the first stage campaign, just like how I did before. We had the first stage campaign kind of kick off with or when we did the original campaign, I kind of started with the map, kind of started working on that. Makes it a little easier to work on. Also, I do like that this gives kind of a rough, cleaner, like islands and such in it, which I think really adds to the detail, in my opinion. All right, so that's enough. The small islands we're not going to mess with too much. It's already saved. Let's go ahead now. Do we have anything else in here? This is just for like lines of geography. I don't usually mess around with this too much. I'm not going to mess around with that. I'm good with the water hue. Land is fine. Symbols. So yeah, now our big thing is we're going to start to shrink down a lot of this stuff. We need to start working on the color, actually, in my opinion. Regions. I don't know what that means, but okay. So we're going to start, in my opinion, the most important of them all. I am curious. Wait, is there no... Here we go. This is what I was looking for. All right, so these are my manual colors. Do I have... Okay, so that's what that was. All right, so here, basically, I think a lot of what I use for my coloration, and I usually like to go with a bit more of an opaque color. We're also not going to make it as large. In fact, we're gonna make it a lot smaller. Do I have... So let's save that for a minute. Oh, I'm out of water. Oh, well. You know, let's call this the start. This will be video 1. I think that's a good place to end it. We'll do the fertility in the following episode, and we'll start kind of working on this thing. But this will be our geography-based map that we'll kind of start working on. I don't have any name yet ideas for the first stage continent. I have an idea for one, but I haven't come up yet with one. So we'll kind of continue to work on this next time. Or, well, in like 5 minutes for you guys, because I'm just going to go grab some water and take a quick break. But, yeah, we'll continue on, and then we'll work on the fertility rates here. So, we will see you momentarily.